Hey, it's Skin Sips with the Beauty Buster. I'm Laura Condon, and let's get started. Alrighty, so today on our channel we have NASNPRO TV. Never always brings the best. We have an award-winning esthetician who lives in California in Mendocino, which is so beautiful. That whole area, oh, it's magical. And I know she just says, "Oh, I'm an award-winning esthetician for estheticians." But when I think of Amy Wall, I think of quantum beauty visionary. I think of beauty alchemist. I think of word wizard. I don't know, ingredient diva. So I don't know, all kinds of like crazy, awesome words that are just like always a little different and a little cutting edge and really high power, impactful. And so I think that's super cool. I like to be around people like that. So without further ado, here's Amy Wall. Say hello to
Hey
everyone.
everyone. Hello. Thank you so much, Laura, for having me. And I am delighted to serve the NASN Pro audience. I have been a member of NASN for a long, long time, since the very beginning. Denise and I go way, way back. So it is an honor to be with the best of the industry. And I can't wait to see where this conversation goes.
I don't even know. We have a little outline, but you never know, right? Wherever the
Right.
energy flows, wherever energy flows, attention goes, whatever. So I first met Amy at the Skin Games. I think it was the first year, and we were both in age management category. And we were the last two people. I don't know. It took them like hours and hours and hours. And by the judges she went right before me. I went last. The judges were batty. Like, I don't know how they were for you, but for me, they were like batty. And when they looked, you remember that floor, the carpet that was there? They were like so batty. They're like, "Oh my God, ha ha ha, look at the carpet. What do you think it is?" And they're all like, "Oxygen or this or that." And they're like, "What do you think it looks like, Laura?" I'm like, "It looks like boobs and nipples." And that was like, I'm like, "Oh no, I totally am not winning this competition." Like, it was so funny. And I'm like, "Yeah, she can have it. It's all hers. That's all good." And Amy was out there doing all her energy stuff and, trying to, well,
I was still a little bit in the closet back then, but I
I was like,
did
"She's a
know that
little."
I knew that I was going to win that competition. That was
Remember,
my
you said it.
unfair advantage. I already knew that I was the winner, and so that was my unfair advantage.
Yeah, you're definitely, I mean, everybody was great, but and everybody has their own edge, but I feel like you definitely are a little bit on the outskirts in certain ways. Like at first I was like, "I don't know about this one. She's a little California woo-woo." And then as I got to know her more, I'm like, "No, this girl is smart. Like this is all science-based woo-woo. Like she's
Yeah,
really smart." And I was like, I like, all right, I like her now.
I like her. I know. I was going to wear you down. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm choosing her as my friend. And one of my and what that's where that all really began is that well, first of all, I was mentored by the formulator who discovered the peptide for the whole entire skin cosmetics industry. So that was my real leg up in terms of like the judging too, is when they started asking about ingredients. You mentioned that in my introduction that I'm an ingredients maven, and I have a photographic memory for ingredients. And I worked for this famous formulator who also manufactures raw ingredients for everybody. So for instance, lauric acid, which is a coconut oil derivative, surfactant, is only made by him. So every person in the world, and lauric acid is a very popular ingredient that, all the other skincare companies that buy lauric acid had to buy it from him. So I just had a backstage pass into every single person's skincare line. And that was the beginning of a whole new journey. So
That's amazing. And I like that you changed what I said to ingredient. And one of the things that I really truly believe in, because I've seen it, and I have a degree in psychology. Not that, like, well, maybe it did help me. I ended up working here, and I've worked in the psychology field before I switched to aesthetics.
psychodermatology, biggest trend on the horizon. You heard it here first. Psychodermatology, the hugest,
Yes,
biggest trend. Mind, body, skin is going to be the next 5 years. You're going to see everybody getting into it.
and I really believe that because I do believe, like we mentioned with Michael Tompkins before, that your joy will come out on your face and create more youth, a more
Mhm.
youthful look. It will de-age you, but when you're happy, because then people, even if you're like, you think about Mother Teresa, she was a wrinkled mess, but no one sees that on her face. I see, most people in the world see a beautiful soul, a beautiful human that when, people, when she would ask people, can you give me $1 million? And they'd be like, okay, here's a check because, what it came out from
Because
her.
of her energy. And so happiness
Mhm.
is an energy, and that, and that energy is expressed in energetic actual chemical compounds in our body, dopamine and oxytocin, for instance. But it's also that, just that joie de vivre and that connection with life force, source, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, and that brings us to an important thing, that wrinkles and beauty actually don't have any relationship to each other at all. Only the one that has been told and sold to us by the mainstream beauty narrative. Dun, da, da, da.
But people who want to take our money because we're not so smart.
Yeah, because you can be beautiful and have wrinkles, and you can be joyful and have wrinkles, but you can also, have less wrinkles because you know that it could be a sign of cellular decay. So it's kind of a both and situation.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, and people always, I mean, every esthetician has been there. Client comes in, well, what cream do I use to get rid of these under eye circles? What cream do I use to get rid of this? I'm like, well,
Yeah.
how about a colonic? like, there's no cream, honey. There's no cream. It's a
Yeah, we're
colonic.
not
It's
getting
blood gum.
rid, and we're not getting rid of the very manifestation of our emotions and our life that's showing up on our skin, as if we could just, you know, what is that? Like disconnect from our very skin and get rid of something. I just, that
Mm.
part, that's the part that's where I started. I started with that, is like, why are we hurting ourselves in the name of beauty, and what's behind that? And those words, getting rid of, that is a very common thing that our clients say. I think every
Mhm.
esthetician watching this is like nodding her head like, oh yeah, or I'm so bad, or there's all these little phrases that are sort of interwoven into our landscape of skin.
My pores are so huge. And I'm like, I have magnifiers on. I can't really see them. Like, what are you talking about? Like, where are they huge? But like there it's like anorexia. It's a mental disorder of a generations of women who think there's something wrong with them.
Well, it's beauty dysmorphia. It never
Yeah,
gets talked about. And
it's
the
there.
answer to this, and what I teach in my programs, is the answer to this is there's a disconnection between the inner self image and the outer image. And so it's the inner image that's like a thermostat, or like a dial, and we sort of have it set. And then if we have it set to an image, it doesn't matter what the outside actually looks like. We will not be able to see it, because all we see is this inner reflection that we actually project out. So your psychology degree will come in a lot of handy,
Yes.
actually, for this new
I
for this
I used
coming
it
wave.
I used my psychology degree and my drug counseling because I was a drug counselor for years. I used it more in my spa room than I ever did in the rehabs. Nobody cared what I had to say in the rehabs. I was like as dumb as a doorknob to them. But my actual people who were like running around crazy, not locked up crazy, were like benefiting from it. Because I'm like, but it's a really great way to keep a clientele. I'll say that because even like I had the counselors like, "Ooh, this is the best counseling ever." But on that, in order for me to do that, I had to do a lot of work on myself and prepare myself to be healthy, to be positive, to be supportive of them, to be a listener of them, to be their cheerleader, and more importantly, to not let the energy vampires suck me dry.
Mm,
So let's talk about that a little bit. And I feel like as healers, therapists, estheticians, massagers, whatever we are, people working with the public, we have to like kind of also be a consumer and be like, well, how am I in my own beauty dysmorphia? And where do I sit with that? Because
yeah,
if I'm not really great, I can't come back to the middle and then serve from my heart if I'm over here.
yes, yes. And it's a spectrum, right? We don't all have beauty dysmorphia, but it is where is my dial set to? Where is my thermostat set to? And more importantly, really speaking to exactly what you were talking about, which is how do we as therapists and practitioners and estheticians who are, for all intents and purposes, hands-on healers of other people, how do we protect our own energy field? And most importantly, how do we fill our own well? So if you think about the root of the word wealth, it is well, right? How full up is our bank account? How full up is our energy field? And how can we protect that fullness and keep ourselves nice and complete and whole, right? If we think about healing, maybe it's more about holing, or like, WHOLE, holistic with a
Yes,
W.
I always hated when they spell it HOLISTIC. Like, I'm like, that just sounds wrong, and I'm not even a word wizard. And I was like, that, and so I always spell it with the WH, because I really think the focus, and this could be a whole huge thing of wellness. I feel like, it's like whitewashed Buddhism. How about in mindfulness? How about WELL hyphen more? Let's be well more.
Wellmore, I love it. .com, TM,
Yeah.
copyright. I love that. And I think that, thank you for bringing up the word stuff. I always bring it back to the word, because our word is our wand. That's why they call it spelling and curse words. So we got to really wake up and see all the little things that are happening on a day-to-day basis that are coming into our field, the words that we're thinking, the words that we're listening to in our music. And it's not that we have to, have all curse words away from us, or all rap songs away from us, or anything like that. But we have to wake up in consciousness and realize, oh, if we're just daydreaming and letting these words soak in and just pour in without any consciousness, then they can actually affect us pretty negatively. And the words that we use in reference to ourselves, I know that I'm so bad and I want to get rid of, those are like little viral memes, right? A meme is a virus that replicates itself over and over and over again. And words can be like that, little phrases. So it's really important to wake up to the power of our own spoken word, our own written word, our own thought word. And I went on a tangent, but yes, how
That's
can
okay.
therapists protect themselves?
Yeah. Do you have some favorite words that you use, or you might recommend for people to quickly like change their thinking, to build themselves up and to redirect maybe some negative energy? Like maybe when they're just
Well,
when they're over
this is a good, I do teach this in my advanced work, and there are many, many words, but it wouldn't be in the viewer, the listener's best interest to tell them the words right now. The first thing to do is start to audit your own speech. Notice when you're saying certain words like want, I want this, asking your client, what do you want? When you say the word want, you're literally saying, I don't have it. So what don't you have? Okay, if you're always constantly talking about what you don't have, which is the whole entire skin care industry, and I can get into the word care in a moment, but want, stop saying want, replace it with desire. What do you desire? What are you choosing? Let the client take personal responsibility for their results and their choice, and you just be their facilitator and their guide. So want, that's one that you can really audit yourself for how often you're saying want. The word care, well, let's go back before I get into care. Want is a little bit of the etymology, and etymology is the original meaning and the original origin of a word. So if you look up the etymological definition of it, you'll kind of see what the energetic attachment to that word still is. So when you were want for something, you didn't have it. There was even a wanton woman back in the 40s and 30s, a wanton. That meant she was a bad girl. She didn't have anything. She wasn't worth anything. So want is very pernicious is a word I'm just loving all of a sudden. And it just means like, it won't go away. It's like something that's just really, it just keeps going. The word care, now want doesn't really have an active definition of not having. I think you can find it pretty easily in the etymology, but it's just the original meaning. Now, care for
Mhm.
on the other side, that
This
has
is mind blowing. Wait, before we start,
a
we talked about this, I don't know, a couple years ago, I think. And honestly, when you get this revelation, you'll never look at skin care the
yeah.
same way. And I've corrected myself 10 million times, but it's so hard because that's all people understand.
Well, I
It's the
had to say care
situation.
at least 10 times today because otherwise people don't have a point of
Yeah.
reference for it. And there's nothing wrong with redesigning a word and really just making it mean something that it really should mean, and then adding all the intention to that. This is just intentionality. You know, the word itself doesn't have the power. It's just that it has energy attached to it. And most of us are just going through our day-to-day lives on automatic. Our body does that to protect our energy, right? We're driving to work. We forgot how we got there. We didn't remember even passing the street, right?
That's
We're
me all
sort
the
of,
time.
we're on automatic. So, you know, it's okay that we use the word care, but just so you know, it has an active definition in the dictionary as worry, stress, and grief. That's why there are phrases like, I'm carefree. I don't have a care in the world. You can see it. It's right there. Caring is like, oh, I'm worried about you. I want to protect you. So it's almost like this codependent energy, which of course we definitely have in the aesthetics industry, because we're healers and we want to care. We want to, but what they're trying to say with care is nurturing, right? Something that is loving and nurturing and contributive. But from a, you know, I don't really get into like conspiracies or being against like, you know, whatever things are happening behind the scenes. I don't get into that because I only put my attention on the things that I desire, and I'm not spending time complaining about the old way. I'm just spending time creating the new way. But having said that, why would a whole entire category of facial formulas be called skincare? Because you know what gets people to buy something is when they're worried about themselves. If
Mm.
there's something that's starting to go bad and you're starting to see that it's decaying and declining, you are much more motivated to go buy $100 product than you are if someone just said, oh, this is going to make you even better than you already are. Oh, well, I don't think I'm going to spend that $100 then. So it's consumerism.
Yes, 100%. But you said that words don't have power, but I might disagree with that because of that water study where they spoke ugly words to water,
Well,
it turned black
again,
and
and no,
blue.
and I agree. I want to say yes, and they do to that degree. They
Mm.
absolutely do. But when you're speaking those words to the water, there's the intonations with them, and then there's the energy from the person. If you were, and yeah, they do have power, right? Even the shape of the word has its own power. I'm just saying, don't worry if we go around saying want or care, because
Right, right.
they're embedded in our thing. We're not, you know, we're not cursing ourselves, but the more we can shine the light of awareness on it,
Mhm.
the better. And let me hand it back to you because that water study is really significant.
Yeah, so as I'm drinking my water in my NASNPRO 20th anniversary glass, I
I got to
put
get mine.
actually we have this is a kiwi that our friend has. She grows in Florida. She has a kiwi tree, so she has like 10 million kiwis. And if you've never had a kiwi, I mean not a kiwi, no, is it? Yeah, a kiwi. I'm thinking what's lime, key lime.
Key lime. I
Yeah,
love key
I'm like, "This is
lime.
a kiwi," but I couldn't think of the word. It's a key lime, and so a true key lime is not really green like this. They are yellow. So when you get that green key lime, that is like factory food coloring grossness. And then she made me a key lime with her actual key limes. I was like, "Oh my lord, this is like amazing." So I like to put that in my water because I do believe, even though I don't drink enough water, I'm kind of a wine and coffee girl, but when I do drink my water, I understand how important it is. I tell my, I love you. You're so pretty. And this key lime looks like a little star in my water. And because I always think of that study with how people spoke ugly words to the water. And so we could say it's not the word, it's our energy that came out of our heart through our mouth
It's
to
the
that water.
frequency. There's several different things happening there. There's several different things. There's a frequency of your
Uh-huh.
intonation. It's your intention. Especially for those studies, they were intentionally saying mean things to get a different read between it. So if it was just like a plain word, it might be a little bit less powerful if it was just a written word. However, the water is programmable. It's a liquid. It goes into a liquid crystalline state. And the water in our cells is actually not H2O, it's H320. And you're on the right track by whispering to your water every day. I whisper everything that I want in my water. I also do advanced coding and, all sorts of activations on water and in some of my advanced work. But just right there, I whisper to it. Even if I decide to drink wine, which is kind of my kryptonite because I'm just sensitive to the whatever it is, I'm highly sensitive. I'll whisper to the wine, be easy on my system because there's water in it. Like, water, please, like, dissolve, any negative effects that the sulfites would have. So water is very important. And, the word spa, the Latin definition, the root of it is healing through water.
Yes,
Spa.
because most spas historically were about the water baths and salt waters and hot
Mhm.
springs and the cold and the hot and, the Russian bathhouses, with Barry Manilow and Bette Midler singing in the back, in the village somewhere. So yeah, the water obviously is huge. We are made up of so much water, but you also taught me something about the fourth stage of water or the fourth phase of water, which I think is like the coolest thing I've ever heard. And so we can give 3 ways. I have 3 ways written down. Well, I have 4 to help our body create this fourth stage of water, which is kind of like a gel like
And the
integrated
bottom, yeah,
consistency.
it can go from a liquid crystalline state to a gel, and you find that all in nature too. Like, I have basil seeds in my water right now, and I don't know if you can see, but they've all puffed up and started releasing the gel. That's how I am getting that gel, that fourth phase, into my water, and I am actually eating my water. So back to you saying that you don't drink that much water, the new studies, the new science is showing that drinking your water is not hydrating you. You need to actually eat the water, and one of the ways you do that is through seeds, fruits and vegetables, all that bursting, like when you open up the aloe plant and that gel is there, that gel holds and attracts more water to itself. And so there is a fourth phase of water. Up until about 70 years ago, they thought that it was just liquid, vapor, and ice. And now this fourth phase, which is a liquid crystalline state up into like a gel, it transforms its state. This is the new discovery. So it's
not really even new. It's new-ish.
It's
But
always, well, no, we have just come, yeah, we're just
it's been
discovering it.
around for a while. I mean, like, they have
70,
known, it's just trickled down
70 years.
to us, yeah.
Well, mainstream science hasn't wanted to admit it. So
Yes.
Dr. Gerald Pollack, who is, a very well-respected scientist, he's the one that's doing the majority of the studies on it. And mainstream science hasn't wanted to accept it because it interrupts all sorts of paradigms. But you have to remember that science is, it's all about the findings, and they have their set ways of doing things and more of a materialistic, deterministic viewpoint. They have everything from physics is all about, the physical qualities, and there's just a set way of doing things. But things are trickling down. The fourth phase of water is becoming I've seen it pop up and be mainstream. I've definitely been studying it for about 5 years. But how we can take advantage of it ourselves is really, really interesting. I mean, I've got 2 big jugs of water in the sunshine right now here in California. That's one way, because so they used to call it like just charging your water. But it turns out when you put regular H2O and you expose it to infrared light, which there's plenty of that in sunlight, it starts creating an exclusionary zone, or EZ water. That's the other name for the fourth phase, towards the surface of the water. So there's like this hydrolytic, this layer, hydrophilic layer, and it starts creating an exclusionary zone, which is programmable. And it's also much more hydrating. So if you add a little bit of Celtic sea salt to that for the minerals, then you've just created a little water battery for yourself. And you can program that water all sorts of different ways. So for me, with my clients, I have my one-to-one clients putting all of their skin tensions, what they really want to create for their self and their skin, we're putting it right into the water.
That's awesome. Your skin tensions. Now, what about the word tension, though?
Well, tension is a really interesting word because think about it. Think about tension. We think of tension in the aesthetics industry as a bad thing, right?
Mhm.
Because we need to release tension. But tension is where the polarities come together and a current is created.
Mm,
So when you have an intention, you're taking something and putting it into tension, which starts creating a charge. So you can think of it like even as an infinity symbol. So tension is just a temporary state. It's not supposed to be held in place. But what do we do when
right.
we build our muscle? We have some tension, we have some resistance, right? So resistance and the
Create
tension,
strength.
the two opposites, that creates a current. That's why it just seems like it makes a lot of sense.
No, I totally get it. I'm right there with you. And I was also reading that, like LED lights, the infrared from that also helps to create that fourth stage, which is what in turn helps to create healing. And that's kind of how that healing works on another aspect.
I suspect that's how I teach it in my paradigm, but
Mhm.
you know, in an industry still very much led by old science, I wouldn't want to get on the record and say that that is absolutely happening.
Yeah, you can
I
never
don't have
sneak any
studies.
claims, you
I
know.
am I am surmising that. I am putting that together that yes, that's what's happening.
Yeah, so work on those LED infrared lights and the infrared sauna that keeps coming up on my radar like consistently.
I had one 15 years ago, so I got to get that back in my life. I use the blanket now. But yeah, and I mean, it's always a dance, right? Because there's also EMFs anytime you have heat created.
Yeah,
The low level LED lights don't create enough heat, and unless they have a separate infrared frequency, which most of them do not. So
right,
infrared, by the way, is not a colored light. If you have infrared in your LED light, you're not going to see color come out of the bulb.
right.
So
Mhm,
I don't that's one that people don't usually realize. So you would have to have quite a few things in place. The infrared saunas, those are creating heat, so you definitely want to have the good ones that, that produce the least amount of radiation. But I'm absolutely going to be doing all my meditations, all my visualizations, all my drinking of the gel water when I'm under the inside of an LED, excuse me, an infrared sauna blanket or regular sauna. So I think they definitely have a good place. And mostly just for the release that you get from the sweat.
mhm. Yeah. Let's circle back to um, how estheticians can kind of, because the theme is about rejuvenating and maybe reinventing and just like refreshing ourselves.
Mm.
Like a lot of people, okay, everybody's stressed. Clients have gotten infinitely more weird and
Have they?
demanding.
Have they? I haven't experienced that.
Weird, demanding, and well, not with me because I don't play, but for a lot of estheticians that maybe haven't been around the block one or two times that are still trying to serve the unservable, and help the unhelpable. How
Mm,
can we help, like with those energy vampires? What kind of
mm,
things can we do that will help us to kind of stay grounded, controlled, and not lose our way as maybe everything is grabbing at us or we're reaching out at other things. Like kind of like come back to center. Whether
That's a
it's
great.
birds, food, water, little
No,
things.
none of that. It's none of that. It's none of that.
Well, that's why I'm asking you, girl.
I have a whole answer, and it's gonna be very concise because I do teach this, and this is what I think. And certainly, taking having a high level of self-nurturing practices and rituals at home adds to this. And I can bet you 100% that all the estheticians that are struggling with what you just described do not have a high level of self-nurturing practices because
Yeah.
they go together. This is about reclaiming our value as practitioners, as estheticians, as skin therapists, however we want to call it, and really start grounding into our worth. Our worth doesn't mean we're now charging hundreds of dollars of per session because we're worth it. It's not about that. It's about knowing what we value, knowing what the transformation that we offer really is, and then making sure we're only delivering that to the client that it's perfect for, our soul client. If we continue to work with non-soul clients because we have to, and we have to, get that monthly nut paid, and we're in that, that thought loop of, oh my God, I have to still do, leg waxes, even though I hate it. Oh my God, I have to still do eyelash extensions, even though my neck is cranking. Oh my God, I still have to take this energy vampire because I need to pay my truck payment, or however those little inner stories go. Those are all word spells that are happening and endless loops. We've got to stop that, friends. We got to take a step back. We got to go, what do I really love about this industry? What is in the best interest of my client? What is in the best interest of myself? And start working from that place. And do us all a favor. If you don't love your job and you can't find something that you're absolutely passionate about serving your client, then maybe think about changing careers.
Yeah, we've all probably worked with someone or got serviced by someone who was miserable. I mean, we were at just even like 2 weeks ago, we just went to a diner and the lady like slammed down all of our stuff on the table. And then we were like, okay, I guess she's having a bad day, but we killed her with kindness. And then don't you know, she dropped some food on me. And I was like, I just knew it because she was like
Yeah.
just moving things around and then blah. And I was
And
like,
I'm not saying that the estheticians are like that, but we can get like that when we keep doing something we're not supposed to be doing. But the thing about the energy vampire is energy vampires don't mess with you when you have a strong core of knowing who you are, what you serve, and what you transform, and you really ground into that. Because see, I am so clear that the value that I can deliver to my clients is in the close to $100,000 range. I just saved one of my one-to-one clients. She was considering an $80,000 neck surgery, and we've been working together for 3 months. And I mean, her whole entire skin has changed, but her whole life changed also. So what is that transformation worth? If she was going to spend 75 to 80,000 and now she's not going to, how much should I be charging her? Right. So when you know what the transformation is, it's like, oh my gosh, she's lucky to work with me, and she is, and she loves it. And it's just this great thing. So for the esthetician, it's like, just know like what you're doing is, I think, now this is my own personal philosophy and I'm not pushing on anybody else, but I believe that the esthetician is doing God's work. She's leading the woman back home to herself. She's helping that woman show up more powerfully in her everyday life and in her marriage and her career, and that hands-on healing and touch, even if it's not a healing treatment per se, even if it's more of a, quick, more therapeutic type session. It's really important work. And I think that energy vampires do not come after people that have great boundaries and who know who they are.
that's very true. I mean, I get a testament to that.
Yes, right. And
Ain't
I'm a
nobody
testament.
doing it.
I'm a testament, because even when you met me back in 2017 or whenever that was, I had very low boundaries and low self-esteem, and still in so many different ways. I don't think I went through my real I mean, I think even just last year in the winter, I could see some places. Actually, just a few months ago, I saw something in my life that mirrored to me like, oh, wow, I still have that level of where I would let someone even like, what makes you think you could talk to me like that type of thing. So I think it's a constant journey, but you know who lights you up and who doesn't light you up. But even if the clients light you up, we're still taking in all of those electrons, all that inflammation from our hands, touching their head, where all of these, all of this stuff is happening. We're sitting right in here from a, energetic chakra point of view, right here with our little cooker, right? Their head is right here. So being able to clear our energy between each client is vital. And it's as easy as just doing what I did, kind of shaking it off, running your hands under the cold water, just releasing all of that back, just, asking it to be dissolved away, returning. You can just actually sweep your body like this. You can do it across real quick, cold water, maybe a little spray of I like to use a rose hydrosol, because rose is a very high frequency, and I just do a little X, and then it's next. And I do that in between Um, Video calls as well, because a lot of my work is virtual.
Yeah.
So energy hygiene for
I've
all.
literally gone like this and like
Yes,
just been crazy, like with the real bad ones. I just
yeah,
literally shake it off. Like before the song was a thing, I was doing it, and and so
yeah.
like because you're sitting there and it's like being dumped on you, and they leave, and then you're sitting there. And where does it go? I don't want it to go to the next person. So I literally get up and like make myself move to
Yeah.
really get it off of me, like as if it was like burning, like a burning
Mm,
jacket.
that's exactly. Another little trick is, imagine that you are a well of water, a whole circle of water just opened up around you, and then just sit in your center. And I could talk all day long about these kinds of little things, but open up an energetic faucet towards the bottom of your well. Identify if there's any little poops flying around, like one poop in the pool ruins the whole pool. So these are
Judy!
like, you just identify all the little things that don't even belong to you, that you don't need. Any little poops, open up the energetic faucet, let it run out, close your faucet. Next, these things are 1 minute little things to do, just like what you said, Laura, the shaking, so important.
Let's talk about something that I don't really like doing. It's like, ugh, so woo woo for me, but I know it's true. I know it works. I do it once in a while, but I never do it seriously. It's always like, girl, you're so cool. You're so pretty. I'm never like, ooh, I love me, you know?
Oh, mirror work.
Yes, mirror work.
Okay, well, first of all, let's not call it work. Ew.
Yeah.
This is just play. We're just having fun. The reason why the mirror is so powerful is because we can kind of see some of the masks, the social masks that we have up, and we can actually really just gaze. I have a mirror behind me right now, so I'm always able to do a little mirror play. But mirror play is really important. It's important that you're not just looking at yourself in your mascara eyes, or like, how people, when they put their makeup on, they've got their kind of little look that they do. That's fine. I do that as well. But it's almost like they don't want to look at their whole entire face. And then on the other side, it's not all about gazing at ourself ad nauseum and just like falling
Selfies.
in, falling into the mirror a la Narcissus. But the mirror is a really powerful way to kind of see where you're feeling about yourself. So I highly recommend doing all sorts of different little mirror play exercises. There's 3 crucial ones that I teach in my program, and I think the one that is most beneficial for anybody, well, actually, there's one really important one, and it's called the assessment. And I teach that in my consultation methodology. And that is where you help your client actually see what's going on her skin in a really safe way. And you actually look at you can do this yourself too, for anybody that's listening or watching. You just look at yourself and you give yourself an assessment. You go from the top of your forehead all the way down to your chest, and you act as if you're looking at yourself from the outside, so that you don't bring up any judgments. If you have judgments that come by, like, oh my God, that wrinkle, or I never noticed that, and you've got an inner critic, just say thank you and let it just kind of just push it aside for the moment. And you look at yourself very, very neutrally, but you go in and you see every bit of hyperpigmentation that you've got. You look and see what new little barnacles or actinic keratosis might have popped up. You look and see, I've got this red mark from wearing the glasses that's starting to etch a groove in here. So I know that's going on. I'm seeing where the state of my nasolabial fold is. I'm seeing that I do have some crepiness on my neck. And the most important part about this is I am not judging myself or going, oh, this is wrong, or now I'm not valuable, or, I've disconnected all of those like cultural stories about what that all means. I just know that is where my skin is showing cellular decay. Some
Today.
of it is expressions of my life and my lines, and it's not cellular decay. So I know some is cellular decay, some is just life story expression. And then I get to have a very powerful position and decide what out of all those skin conditions that I really looked at do I choose to change. And I invite my client in to decide on what she chooses to change. And then we will align the ingredients, the tools, the treatments, the practices, the rituals to skin tension to the transformation. So that's the first mirror exercise that I usually lead with. But another one that you can do is just loving kindness. Just staring at yourself a little bit and just like, I love you. And I'm sorry for anything I've done to judge you. Because most of us are judging ourselves on a daily basis on such a huge level that it totally is this number one thing you can let go of and start feeling better immediately.
Yeah, most people, and especially women, are so harsh and brutal. And I'm like, if you were my friend, you would not be my friend. You are not even a friend to yourself. And it's so sad because there's nothing wrong with them. Like I would
There's
just want, sometimes
nothing.
I would just like smack them on the head and be like, stop, don't see that. And I
There's
said, every time you say
nothing.
it, I'm gonna smack you. Like because I'm like, you have to smack yourself out of this negative talk because you are a beautiful, loving, competent, smart human that is, you're not sick, you're not ill, you don't have diseases, your pores might be a little enlarged. Oh, but there's nothing totally wrong with you.
But in her mind, she has a
It's so
story
sad.
running. She has a story running that says big pores are that make it mean something about her. Big pores means she is XYZ, and everyone fills in a different XYZ. But there's a lot of compassion that I feel because that's the suffering that I see.
Yeah.
And that's, and that's painful. That's painful for women.
I'm saying, I like big pores and I cannot lie. You other Estes can deny. When you see a
Well,
pore
and the
stuck,
other thing is just the science behind how sight actually works. Our eyes are not translating the environment to us. Our
yeah,
brain is
right.
telling our eyes what to see. It's called top-down processing. And
Yeah.
friends, like we're just all going around thinking that we're all agreeing that we're seeing things the same way when we're not. Everybody sees something different. And even the whole thing is like just these pixelated bits of information that is translated through the eyes and the cones and the brain and everything. And everybody's most likely got a whole different scenario going. But what people do tend to see is your own judgments of yourself. And that's why it's easy to appear radiant and beautiful to anybody if you truly can onboard that belief into yourself. And it's kind of like this, it's an infinity symbol. It's there's two sides. So there's the people looking at you side, and then there's your side looking at yourself. And then I might have lost the hostess here.
Absolutely, Amy. It looks like we have lost Laura. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Amy. How can people connect with you?
You can connect with me at the.skintessa on Instagram, and my website is higherselfbeauty.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Amy. Have a